Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. On Memorial Day weekend of this year, a man called George Floyd died in police custody in Minneapolis. And America has not been the same since. It may never be the same. In the months following that incident, Floyd's death has been used to justify a nationwide convulsion of violence, destruction, looting, in some cases killing. And all of that in addition to unprecedented levels of political upheaval, the wholesale reordering of our most basic institutions. Floyd's death changed everything. It was a pivot point in American history. No matter what your side you're on, that's very clear at this point. So with all of that in mind, the significance of the event in mind, it's striking how little we really know months later about how exactly George Floyd died. The official storyline is clear. It couldn't be clearer. Established news organizations state as a matter of factual certainty that Floyd was, in the words of NBC News and so many others, quote, murdered by a Minneapolis police officer. Politicians, both Democrats and Republicans, echo that claim. Ideologues amplify it. According to filmmaker Michael Moore, Floyd was, quote, lynched by a cop's knee with a lynch mob of cops looking on. That certainly is a vivid image, but does it reflect what actually happened? The short answer is we're still not precisely sure how George Floyd died. The trial of the indicted Minneapolis police officers hasn't yet started. We'll know a lot more when it does. The media, meantime, aren't that curious about gathering further details, and they're actively hostile to anyone who is. Ask too many inconvenient, unauthorized questions about George Floyd, and you will be banned from the internet. The catechism has been written and it's in stone. George Floyd is a martyr, period. That's all you need to know. Shut up. But in America, that's not good enough. It's not a real answer. In free societies, citizens have a right to know why things are changing so quickly. On what grounds are we dismantling police departments, rewriting curriculums, firing people from their jobs? What exactly is the basis of this cultural revolution that we're all living through? Once again, it may be some time before we can answer those questions with certainty. Maybe we never will. We'll probably debate them for decades. But more facts are always the first step toward establishing what the truth is. And finally, we have some more facts for you tonight. Yesterday, the English newspaper Daily Mail published never-before-seen body cam footage of George Floyd's arrest in Minneapolis. Now, by itself, the video proves nothing. Videos never do prove anything conclusively. But this one does suggest quite a bit. The footage begins with police officers confronting Floyd in his car, and from the start, it is clear this is not a typical law enforcement interaction. The officers ask Floyd to get out of the vehicle. Floyd refuses. Minutes later, police pull Floyd from his car and handcuff him. Here's a clip of what happens next.
Oh, ouchie, man.
Are you on something right now?
No, nothing.
You acting erratic. Let's go.
Yeah, man.
Let's go.
Yeah, man.
Are you on something right now? There's a reason the police officer asked that. It seems obvious that Floyd is in some kind of physical distress in the video, even before police manhandle him. And in fact, a later report showed that Floyd had a number of narcotics in his system, including more than enough fentanyl to die of an overdose. According to the autopsy, Floyd's blood contained 11 nanograms per milliliter of fentanyl. The report then notes this, quote, signs associated with fentanyl toxicity include severe respiratory depression, seizures, hypertension, coma, and death. In fatalities from fentanyl, blood concentrations are variable and have been reported as low as 3 nanograms per milliliter. One of the best-known symptoms of fentanyl overdose, by the way, is shortness of breath. In the video, Floyd complains that he is having trouble breathing, famously, but he says that long before the police officer kneels on his neck. At one point, an officer remarks that Floyd has foam coming out of his mouth. Floyd is clearly struggling to walk. When police finally get him to the squad car, Floyd refuses to get inside. He says he's claustrophobic. Officers struggle to get him into the vehicle. Over to the vehicle, Floyd begins to scream. This goes on for about 10 minutes. Here's a clip of it.
My hands are hurt down, man.
Please, man. Please don't do that.
Take a seat.
I'm going in.
No, you're not.
You gotta go in.
Take a seat. Grab a seat, man.
Why y'all don't believe me?
Take a seat.
I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not that kind of guy, man.
Take a seat.
No, I'm a die here.
Take a
I'm a
seat.
die, man.
You get in the car.
Get in the front. Please.
No, you're not getting in the
I
front.
got the bullets.
Get in the car.
Okay, man, okay. I'm not a bad guy, man.
Get in the car.
I'm not a bad guy. Man.
You can decide for yourself what you think of that video, and we hope that you will. That's the whole point of having a news network, to bring you the facts and allow you to decide what they amount to. And we hope that takes place in this case. But you should know that everything you just saw happened before the cop famously kneeled on Floyd's neck. At one point, an officer tells George Floyd to calm down or he's going to have a heart attack. Floyd agrees with that, but he continues to resist. Ultimately, officers pull Floyd from his vehicle. He falls to the ground. And at this point in the video, you may begin to recognize what's happening because you've seen it before. The entire world has seen it before. That's the video that started months of riots at that point. So the question is, why haven't we seen the rest of the video until right now? The video seems relevant, particularly considering all that has happened next. And the answer to why we haven't seen it is simple, because Keith Ellison, he's the Attorney General in Minnesota, hid the video from the public. He refused to release the footage, and he admitted it.
I'm a firm believer in transparency and the public's right to know, but a higher priority for me is a successful prosecution. Therefore, I'll consult with our lead investigators and I'll say to them, when can we release this information to the public and still safeguard the prosecution? And if we can do it before then, I would have no problem with doing that. But I am reluctant to do anything that would undermine the prosecution of this case.
Right. I'm a firm believer in transparency and the public's right to know, says Keith Ellison.